Hey, it's Mike, your host of Craft Beer Storm. How are you doing today? It's Monday, so we're going to interview somebody. We have a special guest today, Michael Oxton. He's the co-founder of Night Shift. Night Shift is killing it in Massachusetts, and they're expanding, and they're getting into different industries as well, brewing, distributing, coffee, hard seltzer. It's crazy, but they're really doing it right, and I had a great conversation with Michael, and so let's get to it. Hey, we are here with Michael Oxton. He's the co-founder of Night Shift Brewing Company. How you doing, Michael?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm glad you made the time. We got introduced through John Donlin of Gold Coast Mortgage. I'm going to plug him
He's a great
at
guy.
www.goldcoastmortgage.com. He's connected me with a lot of people, and he has his partner, Jeff, too. If you're going to buy a house in Maine, New Hampshire, or Massachusetts, call John or his partner, Jeff. Reach out to them. I'm giving him a plug. Why not? But, hey, I'm glad you're on, and Night Shift is just killing it, man, all over the place. And I'm going on your website, and you're brewing, you're distributing coffee now, hard seltzer. It's crazy. You're all over the place. You're killing it, man.
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's been a wild ride. I mean, we started in 2012, and I think our business plan had us, 10 years later doing, about 5, maybe 10,000 barrels of beer, pretty small. And I don't think we ever planned to kind of do what we've done. I think by year 3, we had completely outlived our 10-year business plan, and we found ourselves in this weird position of like, what do we do now? I think we have to rewrite our plan.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun since the very beginning.
That's awesome. But business plans always change. They could change every 6 months. You never know what's going to happen. I had an original business plan. I have a brewery, too, in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. It's a small brewery, about a 7-barrel. And, in the beginning, it's great. You have these 22-ounce bottles. I'm like, I can do this. And then 22-ounce bottles fell off the face of the earth. And now everybody's in cans. And, I can't do the can thing. It's just I can't make any money off it. So we're trying to figure it out. But, So you started as home brewers, I guess, right? I see.
Yeah, we did. We were homebrewers from about 2007 until 2012 when we started. It was basically the three of us, the 3 founders who run the company, all lived together in an apartment in Somerville, Mass.
That's
and
awesome.
We'd come home every day after our desk jobs or our day jobs, and we'd brew by night, and that's where we got our name, Night Shift Brewing, because we just kind of called ourselves the Night Shift Brewers. And it was just countless, homebrew sessions, supported by some friends who lived in the house with us. We had a 6-person household, so like the whole house was kind of brewing together, and batch after batch, we were just trying to make beers that we thought would be, either better than what was on the shelves or at least different than what was on the shelves.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we started with terrible beer. I mean, it was like our first 2 batches were like, they were okay, but like no one really wanted to drink them other than us.
No, I know. Yeah, I did mine on the stove. My first batch was on the stove. There's like smoke all over the house. Like, what are you going to do? Like, you get a kit, then you do it. And like the thing wasn't boiling. So I'm like, this thing is not boiling. This is not good. So I just kept going, and there's like smoke, and everybody left the house, thank God. I opened all the doors. I didn't want the fire alarm to go off, but that's how you start.
God.
That's how you start.
Cool, yeah.
That's how you start.
It's like, every home brewer has a story just like that.
Yeah. So, and then I got a Bunsen burner. Well, not a Bunsen burner, a banjo burner, and went out in the garage, and then got a propane tank, and then brewed some stuff down there. I learned my lesson.
You did it the right way. We stuck with the stove all 5 years.
Oh my God. Well, you had a house with guys in it, so it was okay. It
was okay. We actually ended up covering almost the whole stove in aluminum foil so that like it wouldn't ruin the stove because we had so many boilovers.
That's right, the boilovers.
The stove almost became dedicated for homebrewing. None of us cooked that much. I mean, this was like 6 guys all in our early 20s. Like it was mostly takeout, and so the stove was like basically, our brewing system.
I could destroy the stove, I had a nice kitchen, but it was okay. I did 1 batch in there, and then I went down into the garage, so that's better. But, so then from there, I mean, you just decided, hey, I'm going to do it, take the plunge, and you went commercial. You rented out some space in Everett, right, Massachusetts.
That's right. Yeah, we started with a small amount of money. It was like $100K raised between friends and family. And we've maintained the same ownership since the beginning, which I think we're really pumped about. Myself and the other two founders collectively own about 80% of the company.
That's
still
fantastic.
We haven't taken on any private equity, so I think what really matters there to us, and hopefully to some of our fans, is just like we're the ones driving the decisions. That we have a sort of a long-term stake in the game. We're planning to make this really a legacy brand. So none of the decisions we make are sort of thought out with short-term goals in mind. But anyway, back to the roots. Yeah, we started in Everett, and it was a 3.5 barrel system. I mean, it was glorified homebrewing. I mean, it still wasn't that big. And yeah, we cranked out, I think it was like 150, it was like 200 barrels our first year, all 750 ml bottles, champagne, cork and cage. And it worked. I mean, we had a tap room, we self-distributed. We were small, but that's how you start. We connected with the local population and got some fans. And I mean, the story has been almost the same every year. It's just like, how do we grow and connect with a few more people?
Right.
It's just been more beer.
I see you're in Mass now. Now, actually, I was in New York last week, and I saw you guys on the shelf there. You're in New York as well, right?
Yeah, we are. About 85% of our product is still, stays within Massachusetts, and then we send some up to Maine. It's mostly Portland, and then some to New York City. And then we just opened Connecticut this year. So we are opening some states, and we're looking at Philadelphia in 2020. But our focus does remain on Massachusetts. At least, for now, it's 85% of our production stays within the state.
Yeah, right. I was in Queens, actually, and I saw you guys. That's New York City. So that's why I saw you on the shelf. Yeah, I'm like, night shift's down here. I'm glad. I'm going to interview the guy this week. That's pretty cool. So and you also, the brewing, I mean, you have a lot of good beers out there, a lot of IPAs, the Whirlpool, Santilli. You have the 87. What's the 87? Why'd you name it the 87? I'm just curious.
Yeah. That's our flagship double IPA, and that is named after our street address. So we're at 87 Santilli Highway.
Yeah.
I keep telling people, we have a double IPA called the 87. We have an IPA called Santilli. We got to have a pale ale called Highway because it would just complete the trifecta. But beer names and driving, I just feel like it's maybe a little tenuous of a relationship. So good idea in theory. I don't know if it'll ever come to fruition.
Yeah, I just did a story on. Actually, they won a gold medal. It was a brewery, I think, out in Colorado, and there was a random truck that smashed into their brewery, into the garage door, and they called the beer more Dodge, less Ram, because it was a Ram truck, and it just and they brewed a beer and they won a medal. They won a gold medal at GABF. I'm like, how did that? Yeah, it's crazy, right? So you never know where these names are going to come from. So, but you also do other beers, other styles. You do a Weiss beer, like a sour beers. Also, I see you have dark beer. You embrace the dark, which I embrace the dark here. You have the coffee beers and porters, which are great.
We've tried to brew an array of styles. Our most popular beers are definitely our hoppy ones. Santilli, Whirlpool, the 87. But when people come to our tap room or look for us on the shelves, we want to make sure that there's more likely than not a beer for a lot of different palates. And so, we've fully embraced sours. Our Weiss series, we started that in 2012, and we haven't really looked back since. It's grown with us. And then, we try and do German stuff, dark beers. We last year, or 2017, got into the light beer game, and we've really gone after some of the bigger players in light beer, trying to put out a better craft product.
Light beers, lagers are becoming very popular. Pilsners. I was at the Craft Brewers Conference earlier this year, and that's what the chief economist was saying. More and more lighter beers are coming out. Even now, Dogfish had Michelob Ultra is killing it. They're it's 500 million barrels a year. It's some stupid amount of beer, but everybody's buying it because it's just kind of this athletic marketing. Less calories, better for you. I don't know what it is, but anyway, it's working, and they're buying a lot of it. But there's a lot of people getting into that, the lower calorie beers and stuff.
Yeah, we have consumers that want it. I think, even some of our consumers, it's like, hey, I want a double IPA on a Friday night, but I'm going to a barbecue Saturday, and I don't want to bring a ton of the 87 and have 4 double IPAs at the barbecue, but I'll grab your nightlight.
Right.
And I can throw a few of those back and feel just fine, and it's not too heavy, and my palate's not covered in hops.
Right. Exactly. That's awesome. That's great. And what you're getting into also is very good is seltzer. Seltzer. I mean, what is it? The White Claw is crazy, man.
White Claw is the big leader. Yeah.
White Claw, and then Sam Adams does the Truly seltzer.
Yeah.
And you guys are getting into it as well. I think that's a wise move. Another wise move. That's good. And you have a lemon, lime, and lime, I think, flavors you're experimenting with, or?
Yeah, we had let's see, we tried mango. Over the summer, we put out a mango, a lemon lime, a lime, maybe 1 or 2 others. And now we took the feedback from all those and we incorporated into the ones that we're launching with in cans this week, actually. And that would be our raspberry lime, our black cherry lemon, and our pomegranate tangerine are the 3 styles we're starting with.
Now, you're making that at you're making that at your brewery there, I guess, right? Or how is that working?
Yeah, so we actually made batches of all 3 of those at our Everett brewery, and to sort of maintain consistency between our facility and we do some contract brewing down in Rhode Island with IBG.
Okay.
We started with us and then just basically applied those processes to the IBG facility. And so they're making the current batch that's out there, but it's effectively the same process and recipe. But yeah, they're helping us a lot. We just can't produce enough beer out of Everett. The demand has been really strong, and
wow,
we've had to, we've contracted out to make sure that we can just reach more people. It's a good problem to have, but still a problem that we're trying to solve.
Yeah, contract brewing is, if you don't have the capacity and you have the demand, you got to go out and contract brew, so that's what a lot of breweries are doing. And some breweries are even, like Clown Shoes, right? They never had a brewery. They just contract brewed everything.
That's right.
And then Harpoon bought them. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, these guys, what are they doing? And they created a brand. It went nuts. Their beer is very good, Clown Shoes. And then they got bought out. So there you go. And then coffee too. You're into coffee. How did that come about?
Yeah, I know. So we've always been interested in beverages at large, right? I think beer was the one we kind of stumbled into in the beginning, and it made a lot of sense, and we loved it. But I think we're just passionate about making craft products, especially beverages. And coffee was a pretty natural transition for us. We'd kick off a lot of our brew days all together, huddled around a coffee stand, in the brewery, making each other cups and talking about beans we got. And, we just got really into specialty beans. So we'd travel and someone would pick up something from a roaster in Portland, Oregon or something, and we'd talk about that. And it evolved into this whole culture of coffee at night shift. Without the production side of it, we were just into the beans and the coffee. And then at some point, I think we were just like, we love this product. We're really into it. It's sort of the morning shift of drinking. If, beer is the night shift, let's just start experimenting and get ourselves a roaster and try this out. And so we built out a small little space. It's in Chelsea. We have a small batch roaster, and the coffee is amazing. It's really good. We hired a really, really talented roaster to help us with the actual production of them. And, coffee beans are a lot like beer, or coffee is a lot like beer in that, there's a ton of flavor complexity. There's a lot of nuance to it, but you can also just view it really simply. Some people just want a nice dark roast and that's it, right? I want to drink my coffee and enjoy it and not think too much about it.
Yeah.
And some people want to geek out and dive into all the details, and we think there's a conversation to be had with both of those customers.
Coffee geeks,
so we're trying to make a product we're proud of. Yeah,
it is. I mean, I like good coffee. When I drink bad coffee, I'm like, oh my god, it's horrible. I have to find.
Rough.
Yeah, I have to find a local coffee place or a Starbucks or something. It's just terrible.
Yeah. Burnt coffee is it's ubiquitous. It's out there everywhere. But we're trying to just slowly counteract it. I I think, there's a coffee for anyone. And, if someone likes, like, Dunkin' Donuts, right? Like, if someone loves going to Dunkin' Donuts and that's their coffee, like, power to them.
Yeah.
I think what we're trying to do is just offer another option that, either is maybe more interesting than what they're getting at Dunkin' Donuts, or just for a different person if that's not right for that customer.
Yeah, it's like beer too. Like people like whatever they like Coors Light or whatever. That's their beer. So they like it. You can't.
Right.
I mean, you can introduce your beer, but that's why I introduced.
Well, that's kind of our.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
John Kimmick of The Alchemist. I interviewed him, and
yeah.
I'm like, well, what do you say about like large beer and the suitcases of beer and stuff like that? And he's like, well, you're probably not going to like the answer, but if you like beer, then I like you. So if somebody likes beer, so I
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly though, like, I mean, I don't, so like if someone tells me they like Coors Light, like I never like frown upon that or whatever. I mean, my answer now is like, awesome, you should try our Night Light. It's a little bit better, like it's not like wildly different, right? It still tastes like light beer, but you can taste the difference. It's absolutely a better product.
Mm-hmm.
But it still tastes like a light beer, and I don't think there's anything wrong with liking Coors Light. I just encourage people to buy it from an independent company, a local brand, and what I think is a better product.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's more about like, well, your money's going into this macro corporation that's based out of Brazil and run by accountants. Like, is that where you want your money to go? The product itself, I mean, I don't drink it, but I don't think it's terrible. I just think ours is better, and so I encourage people to give it a shot.
No, absolutely, and that's what
everyone has their own palate.
Yeah, everybody has their own palate. What I like, you don't like, or what you like, I don't like, and I mean that's the whole crux of the podcast too, is to try to just awaken people to the fact that there are breweries in their backyard, and just get them to try them,
right?
Just try it,
totally.
And people come in and like they'll come into my tap room and I don't like dark beer. I'm like, try this, and they're like, oh, that's good. All right, I'll take a pint. I'm like, you see, you got to try stuff, I mean, before you say no. So, but
I totally agree.
And you have several locations. You have the Lovejoy Wharf. I guess they do the coffee there, down there. Or?
Yeah, we do. We serve coffee there. It's a restaurant. We also brew there. So that's our Boston location.
Oh, okay.
Right next to the TD Garden.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then Everett is the facility now. And then Oxton, you have another facility?
We have we have two beer gardens that are seasonal. One is in Oxton and one is on the Esplanade. In Boston.
Okay.
So one's like it's like a quick walk from the Hat Shell is one, and then the other beer gardens up the river a little bit, sort of near the Herder Park Amphitheater, if anyone's familiar.
Right.
And so those are partnerships with DCR, and we operate those for about 6 months per year. Yeah. Sort of the warm weather, and we're just shutting them down right now.
Yeah, but when it's nice down there, it's nice. Yeah. The freaking
beer on the Charles River, like I argue like it's the best place to drink a beer. Like you can't drink a beer at a better location than like on the river in a park.
It's crazy.
Awesome.
And the seaport is just fun. Exploding, man. There's cranes all over the place, and just every time I go down there, it's just nuts. It's like
that's quite the scene.
Oh man, but it's great stuff. So, and you're also doing another location. You're going to Philly.
Yeah, that's a big project. So we've been, I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but like we've sort of hit this capacity cap. We're actually expanding in Everett right now. We just put in a new brew house. But even with, the expansion that's underway and it's effectively finishing up. But even with all that, we just know we're going to hit another ceiling fairly soon, just based on the demand we're seeing out there. So, this has been a long-term problem, and we've been searching for a solution for a few years. And so we've looked at buildings all over New England and obviously in Pennsylvania, over 50 buildings total in our search. And we landed on one that is, has a Philly zip code, north of Philly just a little bit, and 130,000 square foot facility that will totally enable us to grow much bigger if we need to. But will at least allow us to grow and produce more within the coming years once our capacity ceiling gets hit in Everett, as well as operate a taproom because, as we've learned up in Boston, just like having this brand center, a community engagement point, I'm sure like it's just it's so integral to having people try your product firsthand and talk to you about it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean that's great, and you also you're expanding, and I mean contract brewing is okay, but you lose margin, right? You want to keep that money.
You lose some margin.
Yeah.
And I think like for us, it's been an awesome like release valve of when we need some extra product. Like it's amazing. So I actually don't think we'll probably ever sort of lose that or give that up because it always allows us to be flexible. But having just more permanent, reliable, constant production that's owned by us it's a great option to have.
Well, that's good, and you grew organically, and you're just expanding. And what's the size of your system now in Everett?
So we just moved from a 20-barrel system that we've had since 2014, and we just upgraded it to a 60-barrel BrewCon.
Wow, nice!
Which I'm just like blown away by. I mean, this was like the brewery of our dreams.
Man, that's awesome BrewCon.
Yeah. I remember touring Allagash and just being like, oh, like this is what I want.
Oh, it's so awesome. Everything is stainless steel. It's beautiful. Like even the steps. Like I go there and I looked at it and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this thing is fantastic. It is. It's like walking into a dream. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But Allagash is making great stuff. The Germans are making, I mean, they know what they're doing. So it's an awesome.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
I will not argue with that.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's great. That's fantastic. And then you're going to have, what kind of fermenters you getting?
So I would love it if we could get 120s or 240s, but unfortunately, just ceiling heights cap us at 60. So 60-barrel brew house and just 60-barrel fermenters, it's just a lot of them. So we kind of have this like tank farm that we're building.
All right.
There's sort of like this, dream idea of putting some fermenters outside. It just requires a lot of tricky. We'll see.
Actually, I was in Ireland. It's funny.
Yet.
I was in Ireland and I went to a distillery down in, they make whiskey, West Cork Distillers. And he had the fermenters outside. I'm like, what are these fermenters doing outside? Can't you control the weather? He's like, the temperature never goes above like 60 here, because we're in Ireland.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. You can have them outside.
Yeah.
But if you do have them outside, I know some breweries have them, but you got to insulate them. Then it gets really cold, and you got to, that could be very expensive. Yeah, I guess you can figure it out. I don't know. You'll figure it out. But, yeah, it's fantastic. So what do you think about the whole craft beer scene? And do you think we're in a bubble now, or what do you think?
Right. I think, most trends sort of indicate that like beer as a category is somewhat flatlining right now, if not in decline in a few different areas. And seltzer, which is, technically would considered as a part of the beer category is really helping hold it at least at flatline, or helping it grow in certain areas. But like outside of seltzer, beer's struggling. Craft beer, also a little bit, but I think it's probably a little less worrisome than it is for the big breweries out there, the macro guys. But even within craft beer, I think what you're seeing is just, you're seeing and you will see probably just, a lot of breweries that started as, a small hobby and grew into something that just either didn't have the legs to, sustain as a business for 10 plus years, 15 plus years, or were, some of them I think were just driven for the wrong reasons, whether it was, lack of focus on quality, lack of focus on the customer, whatever it is. But I think you're just seeing maybe like a weeding out of some businesses, and I don't think it's necessarily a good or bad thing. Some of them are businesses we love, and some of them are businesses where I'm like, I kind of saw that coming. But I think our goal is just like, let's focus on awesome beer and listening to our customers, and if we're focused on that, like fingers crossed, we can keep growing and succeeding. We're up about 40% this year.
Wow.
So we're doing something different, and I try not to think too much about it other than like, let's just keep doing it.
Just keep plugging ahead. Well, if you have the demand, you have to produce it, right? That's great. You let it pull, right? Instead of pushing beer out there, let it pull. And then you just produce
That's
more.
actually a very valid point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe that's actually, I think you touch upon probably one of the biggest things you're seeing is people or breweries that sort of over-invested and put themselves in a position where they had to grow to meet a certain number to be sustainable. There's some sort of break-even point financially.
Yeah.
And, being driven that way is like the opposite of how we try to be driven, which is letting customers sort of just dictate, how we grow.
It's the right way to go. I do a lot of stories. Like on Fridays, we do craft beer news, and it's just one bankruptcy after another. They just go to a bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have awesome beer. Try it. Yeah, we're gonna make like 60 barrels, and we're gonna have a distributor.
Right.
And we're gonna get it in like 8 states. It's gonna be awesome. And the bank's like, yeah, I guess. So they give them all this money.
Right.
They go and brew all this beer. The distributor relationship gets strained because they can't sell the beer, to stores, and then the distributor kind of just stops, and then you have to pay the bank back, and you can't, and then the bank comes in and takes everything away. It's ridiculous, yeah. But you see it one after another. But you guys kind of started small. You grew organically. You let the beer people. Like it's the pull, right? They pull the beer out of you, and you, okay, well, I need more, so I have to figure this out. So you do this, and you expand, and that's what you're doing. And that's the correct way to do it.
And we've also tried not to expand too quickly in terms of geography. Year 3 or 4, we were getting emails from, distributors out of Illinois, California, Florida, all over the country saying, send us your beer. And, we were like, we barely even touched Massachusetts. Like we're let's stay focused. So we've continued to have this sort of deep, not wide mentality of like go deep within your market, don't go super wide, and just establish yourself in your backyard. And then we've made slow moves into New York and Connecticut. Both of those markets are very underserved right now, and that's driving some of our growth. Is that we know that Connecticut and New York, for example, are constantly asking for more beer, and we're not even touching the demand.
It's New York is behind, I think, in terms of craft beer. Sometimes I go down there.
I think that's probably true.
I'll show them my growler, and they're like, "Oh, that's so funny! It's a growler." I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's funny. It's like normal here, right? Like you fill a growler." But I think New York is behind, but there's a lot of opportunity there. And also, you're right, because like Green Flash, right? They went national.
Yeah.
And it just blew up because if you go national, if you go in different states, you got to get salespeople there to promote your beer. The distributors are not going to do it, and that's a cost, right? You have to get it out there. You got to do things. You got to ship the stuff there, and by the time you do that, you just don't make any money. So why am I doing this? So probably focus in your backyard, like you said, and then dabble like in different states, and maybe if it really catches on, you can get a contract brewer down there to brew your beer, and then you can get it out, instead of shipping it all over the place. So
right.
Yeah. So it's been an excellent conversation. We're coming up on time now, so I appreciate you coming on, making the time for us, and you're doing an excellent job. I'm very impressed with the whole company, everything you're doing. It's unbelievable, and you got the partners.
Thank you so much. I hugely appreciate it. It's
really great. And I want to meet you one day. I can do that because I talk to people like in Beijing, China, like, yeah, we got to meet. And I'm like, you're in friggin' Beijing. you're over here in Massachusetts, so I can come down and see you. So I will do that. We'll connect and we'll figure it out. But I appreciate you, awesome. Your time, man. Okay. Thanks very much, Michael.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, it was Michael Oxton. He's the co-founder of Night Shift. They're doing some great things, great beers. They're getting into distribution. They don't like the current system, so they just open their own distributorship. Why not? They're getting into coffee. You're brewing beer. Why not brew coffee? Get some quality coffee. And also hard seltzer, which is fantastic. Hard seltzer is just exploding, and they're getting into that, so they're doing all the right things, and they're contract brewing. They got another location going in the Philadelphia area. So, man, Night Shift. Go Night Shift. Awesome stuff. And if you like what we're doing, you like our podcast, please go on out to iTunes. Give us a rating. Give us a review. that's the way we get up in rankings. We bring you guys like Michael and Night Shift, which is really doing great things. And we want to continue this. If you know any brewers, I got connected with Michael through a colleague, John Donlin, Gold Coast Mortgage, www.goldcoastmortgage.com. If you want to buy a house in Maine, New Hampshire, or Massachusetts, make sure you call John. And it's all good stuff. You know any brewers, connections? We're 360. It doesn't matter what they do in the craft beer industry. We'll have them on. Connect us, Michael@craftbeerstorm.com. If you got any comments, questions, ideas, shoot them my way. Let's talk about it. We're also setting up some craft beer events. We're working with companies now. If they have some things for their employees, they want to have a craft beer event, let's do it. Hotels, guest appreciation nights. We'll go in, give a presentation. We'll get a brewer in. If you got a hotel, if you know somebody has a hotel, connect us. It's all good stuff, man. Craft beer world. Making the world go around. Beer brings people together, and it's a great thing. And we're just going to keep going with it. So that's what I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. Give us a rating on iTunes or whatever you're listening on. Just give us a rating. 5 stars. It's okay. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.